Hello, my name is Ricky Bordelon. I'm the opinion editor of the Fordham Moran, and welcome to the Roundtable. Today we are here to discuss the NCAA men's basketball tournament and a little bit of a preview for next season. I'll let our panelists introduce themselves now.
I'm Max Prinz. I'm the assistant sports editor.
I'm Dan Gartland. I'm the executive sports editor.
And I'm Rosenfeld. I'm the sports editor.
All right, so I'd like to ask you, what are some of the most impressive storylines, the most important storylines from this year's tournament?
For me, it definitely would be Florida Gulf Coast knocking off Georgetown in that first round. I had Georgetown going all the way to the Final Four. I thought Otto Porter was one of the best all-around players in the nation, and I thought for sure that they would handle an easy 15 seed. But Florida Gulf Coast proved to be a really fun, really exciting team, and the reason we watch this tournament every year.
I agree. I think Florida Gulf Coast is a perfect example of why this is one of the best times of the year in sports. And to see a story like that, a school that just started playing Division I basketball 2 years ago, eligible for the tournament, to make it to the Sweet 16 is tremendous.
I wasn't crazy about Georgetown going into the tournament because I thought Otto Porter is a great player, but I thought they relied on him too much. So when they lost to Florida Gulf Coast, I was surprised, but I wasn't surprised that they were knocked out early. I thought, Florida Gulf Coast did play very well, and they did play. I thought San Diego State really played in the next round. I thought they were a better team, but nonetheless, still a great achievement for them.
Now, I know another one of the big storylines was Kevin Ware and his injury, and then Louisville's ending championship in the tournament. What does that say about Louisville as a team moving forward?
Well, the thing about Louisville is this tournament was nuts, obviously, with Florida Gulf Coast getting to the Sweet 16. You had a lot of other upsets, but Louisville was the top overall seed, and they won the tournament, and that's what was supposed to happen. So everything pretty much went according to plan. Kevin Ware, the funny thing about Kevin Ware's injury was that if the bone hadn't come through the skin, people aren't talking about it as much as it is, because it's a broken leg. It was gruesome, but it wasn't like he wasn't going to die.
No, I totally agree. It's funny you say that because it's nice to see a team rally around an injury like that, and they truly were the best team. They showed it all the way through the tournament. But to see a team rally around their teammate like that, it was an inspiring moment, and another moment that just really defines the tournament.
Do you think that winning for Ware was part of the reason why they eventually won the championship?
I think absolutely. I think you saw right there that in college sports and sports in general just create a really strong sense of family. Those guys treat each other like brothers. They felt for each other like brothers. Crying on the court, even the coach and everything like that. It was really an emotional time, and they really used it to motivate themselves. It was kind of incredible.
Now I want to kind of segue into a different topic. Going off of that, there's been debate for big programs as to whether the players should be able to receive some kind of payment for playing. Do you think this is a good thing? Do you think it would decrease this kind of family atmosphere there is in college sports?
I mean, for me, the biggest problem with this argument is that the NCAA profits so much from things like this tournament. I mean, the Naismith Award handed to the best player at the end of the year is sponsored by AT&T. It just doesn't make any sense to me that the NCAA can make so much profit from this and just throw these players, to the wayside when they're done.
Tying that back to Kevin Ware, 3 days, I think it was 3 or 4 days after his injury, the Louisville bookstore was selling T-shirts with his number on it that said, I forget the phrase. I think it said, win for win. They pulled them and they brought them back, actually. I think they pulled them again. But basically, they're selling T-shirts, profiting off of this guy's broken leg. Which, I mean, selling jerseys with a number on it is one thing, but when you're profiting off an injury, that just really skews me out.
Well, they're also, they were saying they were donating back to this college fund, but at the end it's still funding the university.
Yeah,
it's not anything, and they're using his name for this.
Right.
I honestly think that these players should be paid, and the argument it comes back to is, well, if you pay big athletes, you got to pay everybody. Well, I really don't think that's the case. It's sports like football and men's basketball that are paying for these smaller sports like volleyball. They're the only reasons those sports exist at major colleges. So I don't think it's unfair to reward players for the money they're generating for their school.
Now, one other issue they've come up with in terms of finance and payment and all the economics, so to speak, the business that goes into college sports is the conference realignment that's coming, especially with the shift of the Big East and the creation of the American Athletic Conference. How is that going to play out next season?
I think it's sort of sad that you saw Georgetown played Syracuse for the last time at the Carrier Dome, and that was a big event. And it's sort of sad to see, like, that's a great rivalry ever since the foundation of the Big East. I think it was in the '80s, and it's just sad that they're not gonna play that series anymore. And like Maryland is leaving the ACC for the Big Ten. They're not going to play Duke or North Carolina again. And I think it's just, these schools. You talk about that family aspect. A lot of that comes out of rivalries. Now you're not going to have those rivalries for teams to rally around.
I think I'd agree with that. I mean, it just kind of goes to show how much of a business this really is. It's really an ultimate money grab for these teams. They want to get them big TV contracts for their sports, and to do that, sometimes you got to switch conferences. Be behind some rivals that people may be upset about, but they'll get over because there will be a new facility with all the money they can generate.
My biggest peeve about it is that the locations just don't make sense. I mean, Syracuse is the epitome of a Big East school, and Maryland is on the Atlantic Coast, and for them to not play in the Atlantic Coast Conference just doesn't make any sense at all to me. And Matt's right, it just goes right back to the business. These schools want to get the big TV contracts. They want to make as much money as possible for them.
Now, what benefit is there to having the conferences close geographically?
Well, one, it makes it easier for kids to go to class. If you're playing schools near you, you're going to get a flight the next, stay the next night, go right back to class the next day. It makes it easier for kids to, be at college, which is, why they're there.
Right. In these smaller conferences, like the MAC with 2 A's, not the MAC with 1 A, there's a difference. The MAC with 2 A's, like you have Iona and Manhattan and Rider, and like they're all within. Aside from you got a couple in upstate New York, like Canisius and Niagara, but aside from those two, like everyone is all right next to each other, and so it makes it easy. Like Iona can play Manhattan and just get on a bus, go back the same day, and it makes it. Yeah, these kids should, they're not flying across the country, staying in a hotel and missing a day of class. And it really that matters for the smaller sports, because remember when, say now, in the American Athletic Conference, UConn is going to play SMU in the girls soccer, and so then they're all have to do the travel thing.
Yeah, I think travel is really the ultimate expense when it comes to this, because people, like Dan said, people do forget that this is not just for football and basketball, the sports that make money. It's also for the smaller sports that still have to travel across the country. But I also think we kind of rely on that location a little bit much. I mean, it's called the Atlantic Coast Conference, but if we just got rid of that name, we wouldn't feel so tied to Maryland playing in where they're located. So at the same time, I see both sides of the argument.
All right, well, that's our time here on the Roundtable. I'd like to thank our panelists for a great discussion, and I look forward to this week's issue of The Ram coming out on Wednesday. Thank you.